Now, Asus has just launched their new ZenBook UX435, which is basically the usual ZenBook 14s that you see, but with some added horsepower. And not just in terms of the processor or the GPU, but also in terms of the all-new screen pad and maybe the touch screen also. Well, we'll get to all of that in just a bit. This is Varun from Guiding Tech, and you're watching my in-depth review of the Asus ZenBook UX435 and whether you should buy it or not. Let's get started. Alright, so let's kick things off with the design of the ZenBook 14. And okay, at the start, you might feel that it's pretty much the same as the previous ZenBook 14. And to be honest, you would be right in saying that because it is the same design. You get the same amount of ports on either sides. The only difference here is that it's Thunderbolt 4 now instead of Thunderbolt 3. You get the same USB Type-C charging. And I mean, I'll have a link to our previous ZenBook review over here and in the description box so you get a clear picture of the design. I won't talk much about it in detail here. You still get the ErgoLift hinge, which works really well. And yeah, I mean, overall the design here is pretty good. Of course, moving on in this review, I have to show you one more thing. Although this laptop is made of anodized aluminum and goes through all that military grade testing and all, but while accessing the internals, I noticed something. So stay tuned while I talk about the internals of the shot, because the product quality is not that good as you would expect from a laptop which Asus claims is so good and so powerful. But other than that, the design here is quite minimal, works very well, looks premium, but please Asus, please change this. I've said it before multiple times and I'll say it again. The concentric circle design here looks very bad, like genuinely very bad. Your VivoBooks look better. This looks very cheap. It looks like it's trying to be premium, but it's not, because genuinely it's very cheap. Now, apart from the design, let's talk about the display, which sees a lot of improvement here. Of course, it's still a full HD panel, so there's that, which I still feel is the best resolution for a laptop. I mean, you don't need Quad HDs or 4K resolutions. It's not a high refresh rate, but once again, the laptop is not meant for gaming. What it is a touchscreen panel. So the moment you open it up, you get this glossy finish. Of course, it's a touchscreen, so that has a glossy factor to it as well. And what that means is that, well, while using it outdoors, obviously direct sunlight can be an issue on us, but like obviously right now we are all working from home, so it's fine. The color reproduction on this is absolutely great, and the touchscreen works very well too. Now the problem with that factor is that, well, we've had touchscreen laptops for quite some time. I mean, a lot of years, but I've never really seen a point of touchscreen on laptops. I mean, sure, on 2-in-1 laptops or convertibles, it makes sense. But on a form factor or a design like this, I don't really see the point of touchscreen. I mean, does it come in handy when I'm browsing through different photos that I clicked? Yeah, I can just swipe on the screen, looks good. When I'm using the internet, I can just scroll up the web page, looks good. But is it essential or does it add on to my productivity? No, it genuinely doesn't. And see, yeah, that is the biggest problem I feel with touchscreens. As a company, well, Asus will be charging you a lot more for that touchscreen factor, and that is a factor that most of you guys won't even need, but you will still be required to pay for that, which is a bummer. Now, secondly, there's another thing that you'll be paying for, which is another touchscreen part, which is the screen pad, which basically is a touchpad but doubles up as a screen pad. Now, we've seen that on a lot of Asus laptops. But this time we have an upgraded screen pad 2.0. So the changes here are basically in terms of how it manages grouping of windows. So previously, if you had to group windows, you would have to manually add windows onto the screen pad and then assign a group to it. Now what it does is that it automatically recognizes all the windows that are open on your desktop and you can just add them to a group, and that's it. Works really well. And to be honest, it's one of the best features that I like about this laptop. Sure, the performance is there, but personally I think screen pads are great. The only problem with screen pads is that the touchpad takes a hit. Now, some of you might be like, yeah, but you can still use a touchpad, it still works fine. And yes, gestures also work fine, multi-touch does work well. But my main issue in terms of the screen pad not working good as a touchpad is with the fact that Asus has never made good touchpads. This was their one chance to make something better. And instead, they just use it as an excuse that, okay, this is a screen pad, so maybe your touchpad experience will not be that good. So, like in my use case, I was obviously using it with a dedicated mouse because the experience wasn't that good. Plus, I mean, it does not make sense. I was actually using the second, like the screen pad as a second screen, so that really helps. But I mean, yeah, I genuinely hope that this one had a slightly better touchpad. But what it does have is a very good keyboard. So Asus has an on-and-off relationship when it comes to keyboards, but this one right here is very good. I mean, it still has this function key on the right side. I freaking hate this thing. I genuinely hate it. I've said it a lot of times, but I really can't stress it more. The function key on the right side of the right arrow key makes absolutely no sense. The key travel is great. The backlight is, well, very good on this variant right here. Everything works very good. But this function key is really, really disappointing. I mean, it just triggers me because, you know, when you have this one thing that is so good, but that this small little thing is just pinches you and just spoils the whole experience. That function key does that. You might think it's a very small thing, but just like when you start using this and when you're just normally just tapping on the function key instead of the right arrow key, that gets super annoying, especially for typing enthusiasts. That is very annoying. Then there's the audio, and similar to previous ZenBook designs, it comes with two bottom firing speakers, though I'll be very honest, even without the ErgoLift hinge, like even if I have it closed in the lid mode, the speakers are very good. With the ErgoLift hinge, obviously there is more room for the audio to bounce, and well, the audio is very, very good, especially for a laptop of this size and this form factor. So yeah, kudos to Asus for that. Okay, so now let's talk about the performance of the ZenBook 14. So our unit here comes equipped with an 11th gen Intel Core i7 1165G7 clocked at 2.8 GHz coupled with 16 GB of DDR4 RAM that's clocked at 4267 MHz. In terms of storage, we have an NVMe SSD from Samsung of about 1 TB, and of course, powering the GPU department, we have the NVIDIA GeForce MX 450 to give us more GPU prowess. Now, from what I can tell you, the performance on this thing has been absolutely great. See, Intel Z graphics have been, I mean, we've previously reviewed the ViewBook here, and it hasn't been that much of a massive bump that Intel claims. But the fact that this laptop also comes with NVIDIA's MX 450 really adds on to the GPU prowess. Like, I could easily edit videos in Premiere Pro on this laptop without any issues. Like, of course, I'm talking about full HD videos, not 4K. But even if you want to do 4K editing, this is something that can do some very, very lightweight editing. So yeah, there's that. Basically, it's something that you can use on the go. So that comes as a big factor. As for gaming, sure, it can run normal esports titles at 60 FPS without any issues at the highest settings. But if you want to try out AAA titles like Far Cry or Assassin's Creed, then like maybe you'll have to drop down to 720p to get stable frame rates. I mean, it all depends on what you call playable. For me, playable means 60 FPS, and for that, I'll have to drop down to 720p and low settings. But I mean, if 30 FPS works for you, if you're a last gen console gamer, then sure, you can play on full HD and be quite happy with the performance here as well. Now, of course, the whole factor about gaming or testing in terms of performance and benchmarks, it all depends on thermals. And in terms of thermals, the ZenBook 14's performance has been pretty good, despite it coming with just a single fan. So digging inside the laptop is kind of a tedious task. I mean, it comes with 6-star screw, and then you have to remove the rubber standoffs and then unscrew the 4-star heads, and then you can access the internals. Speaking of which, like I said, in terms of the build quality, if you just zoom into this section over here, you'll notice that while propping up the laptop, the aluminum just bent, like immediately just bent. And this wasn't even me applying a lot of force. This was just normally trying to pop it up open. And this is very, very disappointing. I mean, I open pretty much every laptop out there that we receive on this channel. With, like, obviously, you cannot talk about a review of a laptop without accessing the internals. And we've had aluminum builds, we have had plastic builds as well. But this right here is something very disappointing. I mean, you do not expect this kind of a quality from a premium laptop. ZenBook is the premium lineup, and this thing can, like, it has gone through military grade testing, and for it to just bend like this, I mean, if I was a consumer and I bought this, I'd be very disappointed. Imagine, like, if you just had to, like, service it. Like, maybe the fans collected some dust and you just went to the service center like, hey, can you guys clean it up for me? And they returned you with this mark, you'd be furious at them. And the service guy would be just like, yeah, it's a normal thing. The laptop happens. This thing happens to the laptop. And you'll be like, nah, man, this is not what I paid for. So, yeah, that is one thing that genuinely put me off. But other than that, the internals here are pretty good. They look pretty clean as well. I especially like the new aluminum plating over the new fan. Of course, it has no significance value, but it just looks good on camera. And other than that, the NVMe SSD is replaceable. Obviously, you cannot replace the RAM, but it's also ordered on and clocked to a high frequency, so I don't think you'll have to change it anyway. The Wi-Fi card is also very small here, and it's not a normal hot swappable M2 Wi-Fi card, so there's that. But then again, it's Wi-Fi 6, so I don't think you need to change the Wi-Fi anyway. So next up, we have the battery, and as you saw in the previous shot, in the internals, half of the laptop space is taken up by the massive 62 watt-hour battery on the ZenBook 14, which actually works really well. I mean, in my testing, I was averaging about 7 to 7.5 hours of battery backup on this thing with all that horsepower, and my usage was basically using a lot of web browsers. I personally prefer Edge, and some slight editing on Photoshop, basically making thumbnails for YouTube channel, and obviously listening to Spotify in the background. So in that use case, this was working very, very well. But the biggest standpoint here is the factor that it comes with USB-C charging. I mean, I have highlighted it in multiple reviews. I highlighted it in the previous ZenBook review, and I'll once again highlighted USB-C is a great feature to have, and the fact that it charges easily means that I can just carry that one single charger and use it anywhere and use it to charge up my phone, my headphones, pretty much everything. And that's the whole advantage of USB-C Live. Okay, so what's the verdict here? Well, this laptop for its price is decently good. I mean, consider what all advantages you get here. You get a screen pad that adds a lot of functionality, and then you get a touchscreen display that is like, I don't know, I don't really feel that it adds some sort of functionality. Yes, it's touchscreen, but I mean, you won't be using it in the tablet mode, right? So doesn't make a difference to me. Personally, if you ask me, for about the same price, you also get the MSI Prestige 14, which is a much better option for content creators. I mean, the display on both the laptops is great, but I would personally slide with MSI simply because of the creator center that they have, which basically pushes your laptop to perform better, and more importantly, because it comes with a GeForce GTX GPU instead of the MX series that you find here. That said, if you're really into content creation and looking for a budget laptop, not a build, then you have better options such as the Lenovo 5i or even the Dell G5 that we recently reviewed on this channel. Both the laptops are really, really good and come in around 80 to 90,000 and offer much better performance and value for money for a lot of content creators. Sure, this is quite lightweight. I mean, 1.4 kgs if I'm not wrong, and that's good. I mean, it means you can edit your stuff on the go, but with a touchpad like that, I don't think editing on the go will really be a luxury that this thing can offer. Maybe you might think that yes, but there is the touchscreen also, so I can edit on the go, but trust me, my editor has been using it and he also agrees that the touchscreen on this is quite pointless. And the worst part is that whether you like it or not, ASUS is still asking you to pay for that. So that is a big bummer. And well, that was it. If you like this video, make sure to let us know by giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel for more awesome tech content. Till then, this is Ron from Guiding Tech, and I'll see you in the next one.